This young man looks nothing out of the ordinary, right? Well, as we all know, you can't always judge a book by its cover.
There is relief in this town of Davis, in this entire community. This was a case that brought back terrifying memories for the victims' families.
In the records of true crime, certain names echo with an eerie resonance that shapes the nightmares of a small town. Today's video delves into a tale shrouded in the quiet of suburban normalcy, only to unravel into darkness and disbelief. Imagine being a bright young kid with a promising future but be dragged down by an inclination to take human life. And for what? According to our character, Thrill, our narrative centers on Daniel Marsh, a name that encapsulates a twist of innocence lost, and the unfortunate emergence of a predator in a normal American life. As we peel back the layers of this unsettling case, we invite you to journey with us through the twists and turns of a reality more disturbing than fiction. Born on May 14, 1997 in California, Daniel William Marsh's early life painted a picture of an all-American boy with a decent future. An intelligent and seemingly compassionate child, he once made national headlines in 2008 for a heroic act, saving his father's life using CPR during a heart attack. This deed earned him an American Red Cross Heroes Award, casting him in the light of a budding savior within his community. However, beneath the youthful heroism and intelligence was a dark character brewing.
You were there. Me? Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. Why is it ridiculous? I'm a kid.
Daniel's parents underwent a contentious divorce, a pivotal event that seemed to trigger a seismic shift in Daniel's personality. The brokenness of his family unearthed a dark fascination within Daniel, a weird interest in death and torture. Moreover, he looked up to notorious serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy. As Daniel navigated adolescence, his internal turmoil began manifesting in increasingly alarming ways. His dark fantasies, once confined to his mind, started bleeding into reality. By the age of 10, he harbored violent thoughts towards those whom he thought wronged him, including a former kindergarten teacher involved in an affair with his mother. As Daniel Marsh entered his teenage years, he started experimenting with alcohol and pot, leading to tensions at home. By age 14, his father had enough of his substance abuse and asked him to leave. Unaware of the extent of his issues, Marsh's mother took him in.
I want to hurt people. I want to kill people, but I don't want that. I wish it wasn't that way.
In December 2012, a school counselor alerted the police after Marsh shared his homicidal fantasies, resulting in his involuntary hospitalization. But even after his release, Marsh's dark thoughts persisted, leading to another police intervention when he expressed a desire to harm his classmates. However, authorities deemed him not a threat after each incident. Marsh didn't hide his gruesome desires. He openly discussed torture and killing with peers and even incorporated such themes into his artwork. His fixation on violence likewise extended to the animal kingdom, with instances of him harming and killing cats and other pets. Daniel also became preoccupied with a website that promoted gore videos. In early months of 2013, Daniel's mood seemed to improve, as noted by the school counselor. However, as the whole community would soon learn, this was but the calm before the storm. And true enough, within a few weeks, Marsh was expelled for carrying a knife on campus. Many thought that was the end of the tale of Daniel Marsh, just a troubled youth with twisted tendencies. But then the unimaginable happened. The peace of Davis, California was shattered in the early hours of a spring night in April 2013.
We're still waiting on the court's decision in this case, and this is why it matters. There's a belief in this country, based on research, that young criminals can and should be rehabilitated. But California authorities say that Daniel Marsh may be an exception.
The city, known for its laid-back vibe and tight-knit community, became the backdrop for a crime that would haunt the residents for years. Daniel Marsh, now 15 years old, has apparently now transformed into a full-fledged criminal. Oliver Chip Northup Jr., an 87-year-old World War II veteran attorney and local musician, along with his wife Claudia Maupin, a 76-year-old pastoral associate known for her vibrant spirit and compassionate heart, were the unsuspecting victims of this tragic saga. The couple, pillars of the Davis community and beloved by many, met their fate in the most brutal and intimate setting possible, their own home. On that fateful night, Daniel, armed with a knife and driven by what appears to be an uncontrollable compulsion, made his way to the couple's condominium on Cowell Boulevard after walking the streets for hours searching for a viable target. Marsh had planned his attack carefully. He taped the bottom of his shoes so as not to leave behind footprints and wore gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints or DNA. He also wore all black clothing and a black face mask. With meticulous precision, he cut through a window screen and slipped into the home. The stillness of the night was soon pierced by a terror unimaginable, as Daniel unleashed a fury that betrayed any strand of humanity he once possessed. The crime was too chilling in its brutality, something unheard of in the small town of Davis. Chip and Claudia were subjected to a vicious assault, each sustaining over 60 stab wounds. Daniel's actions were not those of a mere assailant. They were the calculated deeds of someone who derived a twisted satisfaction from the act. Inside Claudia's abdomen, a mobile phone was placed, and a drinking glass was inserted into Chip's body, a twisted signature of the depravity that had unfolded. The crime left Davis in shock, struggling to make sense of how such a violent act could happen in their peaceful town. Because clearly, this was not a crime born of necessity or desperation, but an act of pure evil that defied explanation. The county district attorney would later describe the scene as one of the most horrific and depraved cases ever witnessed in the county. The investigation that followed was extensive and meticulous, with law enforcement delving deep to bring the perpetrator to justice. It began shortly the next morning after the couple was reportedly absent from a church meeting. Initially, the lack of physical evidence at the crime scene posed a significant challenge for the investigators. The scene was clean, with no fingerprints, DNA, or footprints left behind, making it difficult to identify a suspect. The nature of the crime suggested a personal vendetta, yet no one close to the victims could conceive of a motive, and those who knew Claudia and Chip couldn't point to anyone who bore them ill will. The breakthrough in the case came from an unexpected source, Daniel Marsh himself. Unable to contain his dark secret, Daniel began boasting about the act to friends. His detailed accounts of the crime, which he shared with a chilling sense of pride, raised alarm among those who heard them. He even described it as the best feeling he ever felt. Despite their initial disbelief, the gravity of Daniel's confessions and the frequency of which he'd recount them eventually became impossible to ignore. Marsh's girlfriend broke up with him on June 4 because she felt intimidated by him. 1 or 2 weeks later, at around midnight, Marsh sneaked into her house through the dog door, an act that caused her to fear for her life. The girlfriend told Marsh's friend about the incident. The friend then told Marsh's father about this and the killings, but the father did not believe him, so he went to the police. According to this friend, Marsh threatened to kill again. This informant was questioned at the police station for several hours, and Daniel Marsh was arrested the next day. Subsequently, the police were able to obtain a search warrant for Daniel's home. The search unearthed damning evidence that linked Daniel directly to the scene of the crime, including items from the crime scene and, true enough, the weapon used in the attacks. This evidence corroborated the accounts provided by Daniel's friends and painted a clear picture of his guilt. Upon interrogation, Daniel was initially firm, denying all charges and dismissing the allegations as a harmless prank and senseless bragging among friends. However, the police were already armed with evidence they found in his home, and so they weren't backing down. After 3 long hours of questioning, Daniel finally cracked and confessed. He went on to describe exactly how it went down.
Every time I look at someone, in my mind I see flashes of images of me killing them.
Daniel Marsh was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree slaying with enhancements for multiple victims, exceptional depravity, lying in wait, and torture. Initially pleading not guilty, Marsh later claimed insanity, but psychiatrists deemed him mentally ill yet sane.
They were asleep, and it was peaceful, and they didn't even know what happened. All the things that happened to them that we don't want to know. I'm sorry.
Efforts to suppress his confession were denied, and his trial began in September 2014, resulting in a guilty verdict. Marsh faced a maximum of 52 years to life due to his juvenile status. Despite his defense arguing for a lesser sentence citing mental illness and medication side effects, Marsh received the maximum sentence. After appeals and legal challenges, Marsh's conviction stood, reflecting ongoing tensions in juvenile justice and the severity of his crimes. In the years following his conviction, Daniel Marsh's case has sparked discussions on juvenile justice. The tale of Daniel Marsh is a stark reminder of the potential for darkness that can exist behind seemingly normal faces. The case challenges our understanding of justice, redemption, and the nature of evil, leaving an indelible mark on the Davis community and all who have followed this harrowing story. Thank you for watching. Drop your thoughts on this chilling story in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more daily true crime stories.